Detective ODN, Lasagna Reaper, and the Whistling Woman's Memoirs. 10 at night. I'm in an Italian restaurant in Brooklyn. Rain pounding out in the dark, drowning out the persistent disturbance of police sirens. After a hard day in the streets, it was about time I tried to relax, and oh boy, I was ready to dig into that buttery, complimentary garlic bread. A somewhat strange older woman sat on the opposite table, eating a meal of lasagna larger than her fragile frame. Suddenly, in the corner of my eye, I thought I saw some foul creature pulling itself out of a manhole outside the restaurant's window, something clearly deceased. I thought it was just my imagination at the time, but what happened next shocked me. A face I had only seen in past lives, but remembered clearly from tales my father would tell me. A plump but comically small humanoid creature burst into the establishment, an iconic black robe and scythe. The rudimentary security cameras burst into flame as the jaws of the devil himself leaped forward like a crocodile, swiping the woman and her lasagna. Then it was gone. The police questioned me. They could tell I knew something. When I opened my mouth and told them what that creature was, they couldn't believe it. I don't blame them. You'd be skeptical too if you were told that Garfield, the lazy cat from comic strips, abducted a woman. My name's Otis, but my friends call me Odie. I sucked at any job with meaning, so I took up life as a detective. I'm one of the two souls tied to the Grim Reaper after an incident back in the 1800s, fated to be reborn along with Garfield's original owner. Two questions were on my mind after seeing him. We killed Garfield after we inherited the Grim Reaper's power, and by interrupting the dark ceremony, we took the Reaper's power to be reborn. So how was he back? Second, why would he appear physically to reap someone that hasn't been heard of since the medieval period, now written off as a myth? Regardless, I had to go off the only clue present. The woman. The swift, careless retrieval of her in the lasagna caused her to drop her purse. Sifting through this yielded an ID. Her name was legitimately just normal, not even a last name. I wasn't even sure if that was fucking legal. Apparently, she was a prolific Broadway performer, although I've never heard of her. Looking in recent news, I found an article about her that wasn't actually about the recent kidnapping. Well, not an article per se, more of an ad for a book about her life. I was about to write it off, but this changed quickly when I looked up the location of the writer she commissioned. He lived in John's old house, demolished and rebuilt with an entirely new foundation. Some may say it's just coincidence, but when you're like me, you know that coincidences don't happen when the city is big as the Big Apple. A visit to the site prompted an empty house, to which I spied. Bloodstains littered the floor, empty plates of lasagna all over. It was a mess. A spy into the next room over revealed the corpse of a man, presumably the writer that lived there. The monster was very angry over the past, so why was it targeting the woman? I would have found my answer in the draft of the memoir. The book was your general recounting, kind of boring actually. None of the information was new or revealing, until I came across a familiar name. Earlier in her life, she had been in a relationship with John Arbuckle. The Reaper was looking for his old owner, but not me. Most likely it didn't associate its betrayal to me. Continued searches into the book led to a section where the writer lost their mind from the dark power of the cat, covered in stains of cheese, the same phrase repeating over and over. I eat John, it's what I do. Time for a nap. I'm a cat who loves to snooze. That's when it hit me. NAP, the National Association of Pizza Pasta. An old abandoned building where the greatest Italian chefs in America used to gather until they all disappeared. Government said it was a fire, but I knew who was really responsible. I burst into the building, interrupting a dark ritual. Many candles were lit inside, but when I entered, they all hushed their small licks of flame. John, the woman, and a massive volume of comic strips, all of them tied together in a dark force, shouting in agony, including the comic strips. Garfield, the Dark Master, chanting in a glorious tune, his force warping the space around him, surrounded by the 12 chefs, 6 to each side, and the power of another 6 invested in his maddening body, swept me off my feet. How was I to defeat such a being? bringing such a force to justice. Would I just be added to the sacrifice? As I was pondering this, the darkness crashed in from all around, sounding like waves pounding into a cliff, but the sound just got more and more washed out, until all I felt was dream. I knew I wasn't conscious. I knew I had to wake up. All I could do was become conscious while dreaming, lucid. I knew I could feel something wet and warm slowly trickle down my head, but I was too out of it to realize it was my own blood. Only one thing could be thought in that moment, and it was the realization that I would become another pawn in Garfield's scheme for vengeance and power. But something unexpected happened. A light, as shiny and glorious as the sun, pierced through the sky, and I came face to face with my maker, Chef Boyardee himself. My lord, please, what should I do? I am on the verge of death. I let out a pained sigh, but I am not prepared to let him win. He simply nodded, and I knew that it was done. I would have a second chance, this time with the power of our Father. I woke up, and still in a daze, I burst out of the confinements of the dark harness. As the 12 dark boyard priests evaporated into the same flame I had become too accustomed to. The Lasagna Reaper slashed his scythe at me, but to no avail. As I leapt out of the way, my weapons I had brought were confiscated, but I had one more trick up my sleeve. The perfect counterbalance to lasagna, fettuccine alfredo, used by boyar exorcists all over the globe to expel the evils of heck. I spun around to see my Tommy gun in the corner, barely evading a blast of the accursed cheesy noodle as I ran. I gripped my gun and swapped my ammunition for fettuccine alfredo, as I drew a quick breath and unleashed a volley of pain upon the beast. A great struggle ensued, the beast firing a beam of lasagna against the fire, but it was too much as I slew the demon and freed the 2 captives. The next day, the police came to investigate the site, only to find it burned to the ground. They suspected I was the abductor, but they couldn't ever dig up any dirt on me. I'm now living the life in a huge-ass mansion with my own personal butler and bat cave. I refuse to eat in Italian restaurants unless they serve fettuccine alfredo now. And that's about it. I didn't get the mansion from my detective skill or anything, I just won the Powerball lottery. The only thing that really changed as a result of this was Brooklyn smelling like burnt lasagna for a while. I guess the meaning of this story is that you just really shouldn't mess with cats. They can be like little devils sometimes. One day you're scratching your carpet, and the next they're eating Italian cuisine and reaping souls. But I digress. That's the end of this story, but far from the entire memoir of Garfield himself. And that, kids, was the title. Detective Odin, Lasagna Reaper, and the Missing Woman's Memoirs. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.